Hey guys, it's me. Today we have a snap question right off the bat, and then we have some news and then our message. So, snap question is, what is your favorite name in the Bible? Okay, like a person's name in the Bible other than the name of Jesus, because it's the best and everyone's going to pick that. What's your favorite name in the Bible? One of my favorite names is Belteshazzar, which is the name that the Babylonians gave Daniel when he was in captivity. So I think it's a really cool name. It's obviously has a different meaning than the name Daniel, but it sounds really awesome. And so write down in the comment section what your favorite name in the Bible is. If you want to look up on Google some cool names, then you can do that. In addition to that, some news that I won't share too much now, but we're going to be reaching out to all of you guys. So if I did not reach out to you yet, we should be reaching out to you guys and your families shortly about when in the future we are going to be meeting in person again. And so just like a meet and greet with families, with parents and students, so that you guys can answer, you guys can ask the proper questions about what's going to be taking place or what's going to happen when we meet again in person with everything going on with COVID. So we're going to be reaching out to you guys about that. But today we are going to be starting a new series. We just finished the Sermon on the Mount series. So it was a long series. We did a lot. And so we went through every single verse in those 3 chapters of Matthew, chapter 5, 6, and 7. So now we're going to continue to go straight through the Gospel of Matthew. And we're going to start right where the Sermon on the Mount ended, which is chapter 8. And today we're going to be looking at Jesus and his healing ministry. Now when we look at the life of Jesus, we focus on him as the healer. There are a few things that we don't see. We don't see a man putting on a show. We don't see a stage. We don't see Jesus trying to be something that he's not. We also don't see Jesus trying to take away the position of the priests in their role of confirming one who is made clean or healed of disease. So we have 3 sections of Jesus' healing back to back. So let's dive into the first one. Matthew chapter 8, verse 1 through 4. When he came down from the mountain, great crowds followed him. And behold, a leper came to him and knelt before him, saying, Lord, if you will, you can make me clean. And Jesus stretched out his hand and touched him, saying, I will, be clean. And immediately his leprosy was cleansed. And Jesus said to him, see that you say nothing to anyone, but go show yourself to the priests and offer the gift Moses commanded for a proof to them. So, I have some questions I'm going to be reading off and answering. So when I ask these questions, I want you guys to be thinking about them. That way it isn't just you guys listening to me, but you guys can be actively engaging in this. So who approached who? Think about that. Who approached who, and why is this a big deal? So in the story, we see that the man with leprosy approached Jesus. This is a big deal because when someone has a skin disease, kind of like COVID, you stay away. It was more than 6 feet. Okay, we just talked about this at Rockside on Sunday morning at church, and so it's really cool that we're going through the same Bible verses, and that wasn't even planned. But something that Pastor Michelle said, it was about 50 feet that they would stay away. That's a lot more than 6 feet that you would stay away. But this man approached Jesus, and if Jesus wasn't a healer, this would have been really awkward. That would have put him right on the spot. But the leper approached Jesus, and this was a big deal because the leper is not supposed to really approach anybody. So, another question I want you guys to think about. How would this healing have affected this man in the context of society? How would this healing have affected this man in the context of society? Don't think it's just about the physical healing in his body, because immediately he's healed and he's restored, and that's great, but that's just a small part of it. The huge healing that takes place is the fact that he now is able to take part in society again and to have his role. So his whole life would have changed from a quarantine and isolation to involvement in the community and in the temple, and something that he never would have had back, or never would have gotten back for the rest of his life. So Jesus' healings are often deeper than just one level of healing. I want you to think about that today. Jesus' healings are deeper than just one level of healing. This man was healed, and yet there was so much more that was restored. Here's another question for you guys. What does Jesus' admonition to get proof of healing from the priests mean for us today? That's a big, long, wordy question. So let me say it again. What does Jesus' admonition to get proof of healing from the priests mean for us today? When the man was healed, Jesus told him to go to the priests at the temple and to offer up the gift that Moses prescribed, to give them proof that he was healed. And so, when we believe that we have been healed through an answer of prayer, if that's ever happened to you, I know a few people that's happened of, we are supposed to go to the doctors. We're supposed to confirm this healing. And so some people would think that this would be a lack of faith. In reality, I think it would embolden our faith, because it would strengthen our faith if we were healed and we had evidence and proof of that. And if we were not healed, then it's a good thing we went to the doctor. So it's a win-win either way. Next question. Why didn't Jesus want this man to tell other people of the healing? And what does this say about Jesus' motivation? At the end, when Jesus healed this man, this is what he said. He said, "See that you say nothing to anyone, but go show yourself to the priests and offer the gift that Moses commanded for a proof to them." See that you say nothing to anyone. Wow. Some people who are trying to become famous will make a big to-do out of the little things that they do to help people. Put on Instagram or Snapchat or TikTok or Twitter, so many things that look at, I did this and I helped this person. And so we see that with megastars, that anything they're doing good, a lot of it, there's this photo op. And yet Jesus goes out of his way to heal this leper that's come to him that he could have just avoided. But Jesus heals him and then tells him, don't tell anybody, but go make sure that you have proof for your healing. That way you can be back in society. I think two things. I think Jesus wanted the proof first. Jesus knew, but he wanted him reinstated back in society. So I think he wanted the man to believe it himself. And also, I know Jesus didn't want, if he attracted too much attention, then his time to die on the cross would have come a little bit sooner. And so Jesus is trying to do a lot of this, not to even bring the cross closer, but in reality, just because he sees someone who needs help. And so Jesus is like, look, I'm probably not supposed to do this. I'm drawing too much attention to myself, but I'm going to heal you, so don't tell anyone. And he's seeing people and is helping as many people as he can. So that's our first story today. Continuing on in Matthew 8, 5 through 13, the very next story about Jesus healing someone. When he had entered Capernaum, a centurion came forward to him, appealing to him, "Lord, my servant is lying paralyzed at home, suffering terribly." And he said to him, "I will come and heal him." But the centurion replied, "Lord, I am not worthy to have you come under my roof, but only say the word, and my servant will be healed. For I too am a man under authority with soldiers under me, and I say to one, 'Go,' and he goes, and to another, 'Come,' and he comes, and to my servant, 'Do this,' and he does it." When Jesus heard this, he marveled and said to those who followed him, "Truly I tell you, with no one in Israel have I found such faith. I tell you, many will come from the east and the west and recline at the table with Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob in the kingdom of heaven, while the sons of the kingdom will be thrown into outer darkness. In that place there will be weeping and gnashing of teeth." And to the centurion Jesus said, "Go, let it be done for you as you have believed." And the servant was healed at that very moment. So, why did Jesus say that this man had the greatest faith he had seen? This man understood how the authority of Jesus worked. Wow, he didn't read all the he didn't have the New Testament. He just had Jesus before him, and he understood how Jesus' authority worked. That's crazy. The centurion understood that Jesus had same-day shipping. He didn't need to go into the store just so he could put it in the cart. He can get an automatic healing from Jesus for his servant. So, what did Jesus allude to when he said, "Many will come from the east and west and recline at the table with Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob in the kingdom of heaven, while the sons of the kingdom will be thrown into outer darkness"? So Jesus is saying people are going to come from the east and from the west, and they're going to come and they're going to be a part of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, which is how God introduces himself, and Jacob's name became Israel, which is the Israelites. And out of the Israelites, you had 12 tribes. One of them was tribe of Judah, which is where we get the name Jews. And so Jesus is saying that people are going to come from different places outside of the world, from the east and from the west. Israel's like smack dab in the middle, not necessarily on the line, but geographically, you have Africa and Asia and Europe. They're right there. And so people are going to come from all over the world, and they're going to be a part of this kingdom, not just the Jews. So Jesus is referring to a time when the Gentiles and their non-Jews would be part of the kingdom, or which would be the church. The early church, in the very beginning, was originally for Jews until the time of Cornelius, when Peter had a vision of these unclean animals 3 times that God told him to kill and eat. That was in this vision. And then he realized that God was telling him that the Gentiles, which were considered unclean, would become clean because of what Jesus did on the cross. And so it's a really cool story. Not going to get to all that, but basically Jesus is telling them right now through the centurion that people outside of Judaism are going to come and be followers of Jesus. And that's what we see today as Christians. We have some Jews in the Christian faith, but the majority of them are Gentiles, are non-Jews. Continuing on in the last part of the story, Matthew 18, 14 through 17. And when Jesus entered Peter's house, he saw his mother-in-law laying sick with a fever. He touched her hand, and the fever left her, and she rose and began to serve him. That evening they brought to him many who were oppressed by demons, and he cast out the spirits with a word and healed all who were sick. This was to fulfill what was spoken by the prophet Isaiah. He took our illness and bore our disease. Let me just say that the first pope, the Pontifex Maximus, Peter, the Apostle Peter, who was Simon, and then Jesus said to Peter, Peter was married. And as we see here, Jesus is healing Peter's mother-in-law. That's how we know he's married. He has a mother-in-law. I would also like to point out that she was healed at the very evening and began to serve them. So think about what this says for us. The healing Jesus brought resulted in her ability to serve others in Jesus. We should think of our healings and answers to prayer as an opportunity to serve. That just gives us a whole new perspective. Also, Peter's mother-in-law was not dying. This was not like a life and death critical situation. It was a fever. Something that could be serious in that time, or it could be temporary. And with the wording, it makes it seem like it was a temporary sickness. It could have gone on about how she had this a long time, but no, she simply had a fever, and Jesus simply made the fever go away. You see, Jesus cares even about healing temporary sickness. It doesn't always have to be a big life or death situation. And I would think that sometimes when I would get sick, I'm like, oh, this is beneath God. This is too small. Like, I'm going to get better in a week. Like, should I really pray? But no, I'm going to pray. Sometimes we don't want to ask God for a healing because we think that our prayer is beneath God, but that's wrong. We're not a bother to God. He wants us to communicate with him and to rely on Jesus and to depend upon God. And so that's what we're going to end with tonight after hearing those 3 stories about Jesus healing people back to back to back. He taught on the Sermon on the Mount for those 3 chapters in Matthew chapter 5, 6, and 7. And then Matthew chapter 8, at least the first half, here we see 3 stories of immediately going and healing people after his Sermon on the Mount. Jesus didn't just preach and talk a good talk, but he put his words into action, and he wants to heal you, and he wants to hear from you. And we have been praying for this COVID to end, and we're praying for God to give the doctors wisdom and insight and for a speedy process. And so we are excited for what is about to come in the future. We are looking in sometime in September to be meeting back with each other. Obviously, masks on inside, and we're going to have more information for you guys in the future. We're going to be reaching out to you guys and making sure that we answer any questions that you guys have. But God is in this. We are in this together. And so I just want to let you guys know that we are praying for you and we are looking forward to coming back together. So let's end with this question here tonight. Do you rely upon God?